6 months ago, I made a video called Why I Hate the Warriors Wiki, detailing problems I had with the structure, lack of information, and overall poor management of the website in question. Aside from making an enemy of every current and former member of the Warrior Cats Wiki administration team, I'm sorry guys, am I just too cute for you? Too unbearably cute? Please hold it in. I also unexpectedly caused a lot of wiki vandalism, which wasn't my intention, and I do apologize to all current members of the Warriors Wiki for that, and I honestly am more interested in improving the wiki than harming it. And yes, I do intend to continue calling it a wiki and not a wiki, because I'm more used to saying that. It would be unfair of me to make a video about how terrible the Warrior Cats Wiki was then without making a follow-up like this when they've actually taken steps to improve, especially seeing as my previous video caused a fair amount more destruction than intended. Since I last commented on the warriorsfandom.com page, they've actually started to make some important changes to the layout of the character pages. First of all, they're seemingly trying to make the pages more digestible. They're adding more simplified summaries of the characters at the heads of the pages, instead of forcing you to push your way through their super detailed novella-like history sections to find the information you need. They've also started adding official art to the pages, which is super exciting. It used to be incredibly hard to even properly Google for this stuff, so actually having them be on our only proper information resource is great. Even though a huge chunk of this character art is inaccurate, and a huge chunk of it was all referenced from the same exact book, it's still a very good resource for a lot of people. Plus, it's the main source for extremely important discussions on Scourge's collar color. They've divvied up Firestar's page into tabs, putting the big, confusing family tree in a nice optional area, and putting the original, over-detailed history into its own place, leaving the front page to be mostly just useful information. They've also separated the interesting facts into more segments, which is, at least on the Firestar page that's been presented, something that's making the whole section a lot easier to read. There's still no personality or relationship section, but the wiki itself has hinted that they might create one for relationships. Although, at the time of writing, a few cats have a secret little personality and traits segment on their page, very low on the page, almost like it's hidden away. This could just be a rogue editor or something that they're trying, but, it's hard to say when we've got the official Twitter saying otherwise. Before going on, I should mention that the wiki's Twitter is under new management. The previous admin is gone, and no longer going around blocking people instead of addressing concerns, so please treat them with kindness. That same person also seemingly has stepped down from her position after the community finding her, among other things, unfit to handle the public affairs of the wiki. See, back in December, a user posted a Warriors Wiki forum post titled Inquiry of Administrator Appledash displaying their concerns. On the Warrior Cats Wiki specifically, and I cannot speak for every wikia, an inquiry is for questioning the leadership or rank given to a certain user. Usually, the reason for this is that the user in question is inactive. That wasn't exactly the case here. When going through the thread, Appledash was mainly accused of 3 things. 1, her handling of Dovewing drama, 2, her interactions with wiki users being particularly rude or intimidating, and 3, the fact that she leads almost all of the wiki projects. I am not a part of the wiki. I am not part of their Discord server, and I can only say what I observe in threads and talk pages. While I have had friends who came and left from editing the wiki due to feeling like the community was too closed off, I can't exactly say anything one way or another on the legitimacy of these claims, or the claims that Appledash ran most of the site projects, aside from the fact that they're repeated several times. Anyways, the thread was brought up and heavily contested before fading into obscurity for a month and a half, at which point another user bumped it with more detailed evidence. While I had been vaguely paying attention to it back in December, I hadn't really remembered any more by the time it was left alone, so I got all caught up on reading the latest installment of Inquiry of Appledash while writing this video. See, when you get a random notification that the Warriors Wiki has followed you on Twitter, either all hell has broken loose or one thread you were following a month ago finally went somewhere. It goes on until a point where Appledash apologizes for the situation 6 months ago, questions the legitimacy of the other claims, and asks what should be done about her, and an hour later, when people continue to argue that she treats users rudely, Appledash seemingly quits the wiki, saying, "Enough is enough, really. The community has made itself clear. I hear all of you. I will be leaving a resignation letter on my user page rather than creating a forum for it." You can read the whole thing, linked in the description, if you're interested in proper details. So, to summarize, the person who blocked all of you on Twitter and claimed sending the wiki memes was harassment and so on is no longer involved as of Valentine's Day. I can't exactly say one way or another that this person needed to be removed from her position on the Warrior Cats Wiki. I have never worked on the Warrior Cats Wiki, but the handling of the official Twitter was irresponsible, touchy, and much too thin-skinned to be appropriate and professional representation of the website. But she could have very well been great at making edits, managing users, or organizing projects. There's no way she was handling 3 projects at once and was bad at that specifically. That said, she could have very well been bad at anything, and there's no way for me to know beyond what was said in that thread. Regardless, the change of Twitter admin in any case is a positive one, and I wish the Warriors Wiki team good luck going forward. Now quickly I want to take a little look at this. I don't agree that bias is such a big issue that it should prevent a personality section from being written. A little peer reviewing and general consensus on Kat's traits, friends, and personality should be enough to keep it in check. Obviously, there's going to be somebody who goes in on Dovewing and Ivypool's page and calls one of them whiny. There's going to be somebody who hates Jayfeather and goes in and calls him a serial abuser. But those sorts of things can probably be fixed in the same way it can be fixed when somebody goes in and puts all the kids' names back every time they notice they've been listed as unknown. And it's kind of weird that the wiki wants to be unbiased when I've always kind of seen it as a biased force. Even the new Firestar page has a sentence about how Firestar should have stripes, something that really isn't true or untrue based on the text of the books. There was a decision made that Firestar has stripes. The wiki also already presents itself with bias by having artist interpretations of the cats represent them at the top of pages. If being unbiased was truly the goal of the website, these images would not be a part of it. And I'm not arguing for the removal of the images because frankly they're a staple of the website, and I'm so insanely glad that they're actually incorporating the official art. So I think a personality section should at least be given a shot, and if bias is a huge problem, maybe take it off. But other wikis don't have a problem with personality sections despite having bigger user bases, and even though a lot of the less involved cats don't have distinct personalities, cats like Squirrelflight, Alderheart, Yellowfang, and Jayfeather certainly do. But honestly, at this point, this is my only big issue remaining. They're really doing everything they can think of to improve the wiki. They've also recently updated both their decade-old character art for leaders and kitty pets, and it looks a lot better. All of this shows that the wiki is open to change, and I firmly believed at the time of making the last video that the wiki wasn't open to change. I thought because it had been the same for so long with no new material or ideas implemented for so long that it wasn't going to change. And now it has, and I'm impressed and I'm happy, and I want to apologize because I legitimately believed that this wouldn't happen. To be honest with you, I would have never made my video before if I thought the wiki was actually willing to change and improve. I was entirely convinced, because of both a difference in mindset in reference to the Warrior Cats series, and because of friends' and acquaintances' experience with the wiki, that it wasn't open to suggestion. The thing that struck me the most about the entire situation 6 months ago with the wiki was that the community was super segmented. I spend most of my time on Twitter following and talking to other Warrior Cats creators, but areas like the Wiki or Reddit or roleplay communities are completely foreign and disconnected. There are common ideas in other areas that are completely alien or contradictory concepts to what my piece of the community usually believes. There are people out there who didn't like Shattered Sky. I want them to look in the mirror for a few hours and get back to me on why Darktail's death wasn't totally crazy awesome. There are people out there who think Jayfeather is a bad character, and I want them to come explain to me exactly how the character in the series with the most personality is a bad character. But that's just the thing. There aren't just a few people. There are entire communities that have different opinions on things than you do. The wiki, at the time, took the word of the authors over the word of the books, when, where I'm from, we don't consider the opinions of Cherith nor Kate because they have no say in what actually happens and just work on the final project as intended by what was previously Victoria Holmes and is now currently a team of editors. I should also address, while I hold Dovewing much nearer and dearer to my heart than anyone alive, I wasn't motivated in any way by defending her stupid little head, eyeballs included. I just believe strongly that the word of published media should be held over the word of any given author, especially when we're dealing with many, many authors. So when it all came down to a conflict of opinion, it all actually seemed like it was a flimsy excuse to push a headcanon, which snowballed into a larger and larger conflict. I loved Dovewing when I thought her eyes were gold, I loved Dovewing when I thought her eyes were blue, and I love Dovewing now that I think her eyes are green. And I hope the wiki changes it in 2 years when the editors have decided her eyes are purple. The Warriors Wiki is actually really important to the creative community of Warrior Cats because they use it as a resource. That's why a lot of time people get hung up on the accuracy of the sprite work or the character descriptions before anything else. Everyone wants the most accurate sources possible to build off of. It's the sort of issue that would be more personal than you could imagine as an outsider looking in on the artistic community, but everyone uses it. They use it to plan their multiple animator projects, to make their 17th painting of Maple Shade. It's important to us. I want the Warrior Cats Wiki to succeed, and I'm glad it's finally taking steps to get better. And seriously though, these tabs, they're great, they're wonderful. Please add 18 more tabs. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for finally fixing Shellpaw. He needed to be neutered eventually.